The room is quiet. Not the peaceful quiet of a Sunday morning where the sun is just hitting the floorboards and the coffee is brewing. No, this is the heavy quiet, the kind of silence that has weight. It presses against your ears. You are sitting across from them, the person you have known for years, the person whose breathing pattern you know better than your own. They're right there. You can reach out and touch their hand, but they feel miles away, an ocean away. And you wonder, when did the boat leave the dock? When did the distance become so vast that you can no longer bridge it with a smile or a joke? We are taught to look for the explosion, the shouting match, the slammed door, the discovery of the secret message. We are trained by cinema and literature to expect betrayal to arrive with the sound of a gunshot. But that is not how trust dies. Trust does not die in a loud, violent moment. Trust is not a glass vase that shatters on the floor. Trust is a mountain, and mountains are worn down by the wind, by the rain, by the slow, agonizing passage of time. Trust leaves the relationship in the small moments, the moments you dismiss, the habits that shift so subtly you almost convince yourself you are imagining it. Tonight, we are going to walk through the anatomy of that departure. We are going to look at the microscopic shifts in behavior that signal the end long before the end is official. We are going to dissect the 157 minutes of a dying romance, stretching out the timeline to examine the forensics of a broken bond. Because if you know what to look for, if you know how to read the silence, you can see the exit signs miles before the road runs out. Let's begin with the first habit, the habit of the greeting. It seems trivial. It seems like nothing. But consider the choreography of your return. Think back to the beginning. Remember the sound of the key in the lock. When you heard the tumblers click, what happened in your body? There was a spark, a biological reflex. You would stand up. You would walk to the door. Or they would. The greeting was an event. It was a reunion, no matter how short the separation had been. Eyes met eyes. There was physical contact, a hug, a kiss, a hand on the shoulder. It was an acknowledgement that you have returned to me, and I am glad. Now, look at the change. Watch the movie of your life in slow motion. The key turns in the lock. The door opens. And what happens now? They are on the couch. They are looking at a screen. They do not stand up. They do not look up. They might offer a murmur, a low, hey, thrown over a shoulder. The eyes stay fixed on the phone or the television. The body does not orient itself toward you. This is the first crack in the foundation. It is the habit of indifference. It is the subtle signal that your presence is no longer an event to be celebrated, but a circumstance to be managed. When the enthusiasm of the reunion evaporates, trust begins to starve. Because trust is built on the feeling of being prioritized. When you are greeted with the back of a head, the subconscious message is clear. You are here, and it does not change my world. We move deeper into the house. We move into the kitchen, the heart of the home. This brings us to the second habit, the curiosity deficit. In the early days, conversation was a feast. You consumed each other's thoughts. How was your day? Wasn't a script. It was an investigation. You wanted to know the details, the coffee that was too cold, the boss that was too loud, the traffic that was too slow. You wanted the texture of their existence. But watch how the habit changes. The question, how was your day, becomes rhetorical. It becomes a placeholder. And the answer becomes a reflex. Fine. Good. Okay. And here is the crucial moment. The follow-up question dies. The habit of digging deeper disappears. They stop asking why. They stop asking who. They stop exploring the landscape of your mind. When curiosity leaves a relationship, it is because the partner has decided they already know everything there is to know. Or worse, they no longer care to learn. Trust relies on being seen, on being understood. When your partner stops asking questions, they are essentially telling you that your inner world is no longer a destination they wish to travel to. You are speaking, but you are not being heard. You are broadcasting into a void. And in that void, secrecy begins to grow. Because if they don't ask, why would you tell? And if you don't tell, the walls go up. Let's shift the camera angle. Let's look at the digital body language. The third habit, the tilt. You know this one. You have felt it in your gut before your brain even processed it. You are sitting together, maybe on a park bench, maybe at the dinner table. Their phone buzzes. In the past, the phone was a shared object. You would both look. Who is that? Oh, it's just work. The screen was open territory. But now, observe the geometry. The phone buzzes. They pick it up, and there is a microscopic movement of the wrist, a 5-degree tilt away from you. The screen is angled just enough so that their eyes can see it, but yours cannot. It is a defensive posture. It is the creation of a private room within a public space. They are guarding the gate. And it's not always about an affair. It's not always about a scandalous text message. Sometimes it is simply the desire to keep a part of themselves separate from you. But that tilt, that physical shielding of information, it is the visual representation of a door closing. Trust is transparency. Trust is the absence of shadows. When the screen turns away, the shadow falls between you. You stop asking who it is because you are afraid of the answer, or you are afraid of the lie that will follow. The habit of the digital tilt is the habit of exclusion. They are building a world inside that device, and you are not invited. Now, let us walk into the realm of conflict, the way you fight. This is where the erosion becomes violent in its silence. The fourth habit is the shift from we to you. Listen to the pronouns. In a healthy relationship, a problem is a shared enemy. How do we fix this budget? How do we handle this schedule? The language is cooperative. It is a team facing a challenge. But listen closely as the trust evaporates. The language shifts. Why did you spend that? That is your problem. You always do this. The teammate becomes the opponent. The problem is no longer something to be solved. It is a weapon to be used. But there is a stage worse than the blame game. There is the habit of apathy. This is the most dangerous habit of all. It is the habit of not fighting. You remember the fights, the passion, the tears, the desperate need to be understood. You fought because you cared. You fought because the relationship was worth saving. But now, something has changed. You bring up an issue that used to trigger a 2-hour discussion, and they just shrug. Okay, whatever you say. They give in immediately, not because they agree, but because they don't care enough to argue. The energy required to engage in conflict is an investment. When they stop investing that energy, they have already checked out. They are preserving their resources for a life that does not include you. The silence of a partner who refuses to engage is louder than any scream. It is the sound of resignation. It is the sound of a lease expiring. Let's go deeper. Let's look at the future. The fifth habit is the shrinking of the horizon. Relationships live on a timeline. We are always projecting forward. Where should we go next summer? In 5 years, we should buy that house. When we retire, the conversation is always casting a line into the future, anchoring you both to a shared destiny. Watch what happens when trust leaves. The timeline shrinks. The next summer becomes, I don't know yet. The 5-year plan becomes vague. They stop using the future tense. They live aggressively in the present, or they talk about the past. But the future becomes a foggy, prohibited zone. Why? Because they can no longer visualize you in it. To plan a vacation 6 months from now requires a belief that you will still be a unit in 6 months. When that belief falters, the planning stops. You suggest a concert in October. They hesitate. Let's wait and see. That hesitation is the erosion. They are keeping their options open. They are untethering their timeline from yours. The habit of avoiding the future is the subconscious preparation for an exit. Now consider the physical, not just the sex, but the incidental touch. The sixth habit is the widening of the gap. In the beginning, you were magnets. You couldn't walk past each other in the hallway without a brush of the arm. Sitting on the couch meant legs draped over legs. There was a constant, low-level current of physical reassurance. Then, the gap appears. You sit on the couch, and there is a cushion between you. You walk down the hallway, and they maneuver to avoid contact. It's not hostile. It's clinical. It's the body language of roommates, not lovers. The goodnight kiss becomes a peck, dry and perfunctory, delivered to the air near your cheek rather than your lips. This withdrawal of touch is a withdrawal of comfort. Touch is a language that bypasses the brain and speaks directly to the nervous system. It says, I am here, you are safe. When that language goes silent, the nervous system goes into high alert. You feel cold, even in a warm room. You feel alone, even when they are sleeping 6 inches away. And speaking of sleep, notice the direction. The back turned to you, the edge of the bed hugged tight, the physical wall built out of pillows and blankets. The habit of physical avoidance is the body confessing what the mouth refuses to say. I am pulling away. Let's examine the habit of the micro-lie. This is insidious. It is the seventh habit. These are not the big lies. These are not affairs or hidden bank accounts. These are the pointless lies. They say they had lunch with a coworker, but they actually ate alone. They say they are stuck in traffic, but they haven't left the office yet. They say they liked the movie, but they hated it. Why lie about things that don't matter? This is a symptom of a total breakdown in safety. They lie because it is easier than the truth. They lie to maintain distance. They lie because the authentic version of themselves is no longer available to you. They are curating a version of reality that is smooth, frictionless, and false. When you catch them in these small, senseless lies, you feel crazy. Why would you lie about a sandwich, you ask? But it's not about the sandwich. It's about the reflex to hide. It's about the habit of deception becoming the default setting. Once the small lies become normalized, the big lies have plenty of room to grow. The micro-lie is the training ground for the ultimate betrayal. We must also look at the habit of external validation, the eighth habit. Watch where they take their news. Something good happens at work. They get a promotion. They hear a funny joke. Who is the first person they tell? It used to be you. You were the primary recipient of their emotional data. But now, you find out about the promotion on social media. You hear the joke when they tell it to a friend at a party. You realize that you are no longer the primary audience for their life. You are the spectator in the cheap seats. They are crowdsourcing their emotional needs. They vent to their mother. They celebrate with their colleagues. They confess to their gym buddy. You get the edited summary hours or days later. This displacement of intimacy is a critical sign. A relationship is an exclusive exchange of vulnerability. When that exchange is outsourced, the core of the relationship hollows out. You are living in the shell of a partnership, but the living organism inside has moved on. Let's pause and look at the atmosphere of the home again. The ninth habit, the loss of playfulness. Humor is the lubricant of life. It is how we survive the boring, the painful, and the mundane. Inside jokes are the secret language of a couple. They are the code that says we belong to the same tribe. When trust leaves, the laughter dies. Not all laughter. They might still laugh at a TV show or a friend's story, but the laughter between you vanishes. The teasing stops. Or worse, the teasing turns sharp. It curdles into sarcasm. Sarcasm is anger dressed up as a joke. It is a way to say something cruel while maintaining plausible deniability. I was just kidding, they say, after delivering a sting about your career or your appearance. But they weren't kidding. The playfulness has been replaced by a low, simmering resentment. The safety required to be silly, to be foolish, to be vulnerable, is gone. You find yourself walking on eggshells, afraid that a joke will land wrong, afraid that your laughter will be met with a blank stare. The silence where the laughter used to be is deafening.
And what about the habit of scorekeeping? Habit number 10. In a trusting relationship, you give because you want to. You do the dishes because they are tired. They pay for dinner because they got a bonus. It flows. It balances out in the wash. But watch the shift to the ledger. Suddenly, everything is a transaction. I did the laundry last week, so you have to do it today. I went to your family's house, so you owe me a weekend. The relationship becomes a zero-sum game. They are keeping a mental spreadsheet of debts and credits. This is not partnership. This is negotiation. It is adversarial. It implies a fear that they are being taken advantage of. It implies that you are not on the same team, but are two opposing nations trading resources. When the generosity of spirit is replaced by the rigidity of the scorecard, trust has been replaced by contract law. You are no longer lovers, you are litigants. Now, let's zoom in on a very specific modern habit, the notification guard. We touched on the tilt, but this is different. This is the anxiety of the buzz. Watch their reaction when your phone rings. Do they jump? Do they look nervous? Or watch their reaction when their phone rings and you are near it. Do they lunge for it? This hypervigilance is the habit of a person living a double life, even if that double life is just in their head. It is the physical manifestation of guilt. A person with nothing to hide leaves their phone on the coffee table and walks into the shower. A person whose trust has eroded, either their trust in you or your trust in them, carries the device like a bomb that could go off at any moment. This constant, low-level panic infects the air. It makes you anxious. You start watching the phone too. You start wondering. The device becomes a third party in the relationship, a silent, glowing antagonist. We are deep into the runtime now. We are looking at the heavy habits, the ones that hurt. Habit 12, the revision of history. Listen to how they talk about the past, your shared past, the story of how you met, the story of that trip to Paris. When trust is gone, the narrative changes. The memories are rewritten with a darker ink. We had a great time in Paris becomes, that trip was so stressful, we fought the whole time. It was love at first sight becomes, I wasn't sure about you at first. They are retroactively editing the relationship to justify their current detachment. If they can convince themselves that the relationship was never that good to begin with, it makes the exit easier. It lessens the guilt. You find yourself correcting them. No, we laughed for hours that night, but they shake their heads. They have painted over the mural. They are stealing your history, warping it to fit their new emotional reality. This is gaslighting in its purest form, making you doubt the joy you know you felt.
Habit 13, the weaponized I'm fine. We mentioned the lack of curiosity, but this is the refusal of vulnerability. You know something is wrong. You can feel the tension radiating off them like heat from pavement. You ask, what's wrong? They look at you, eyes dead, and say, I'm fine. It is a lie designed to shut you out. It is a wall. If they were to tell you what is wrong, they would have to engage. They would have to open the wound, and they don't trust you with the wound anymore, or they don't have the energy to heal it with you. I'm fine is shorthand for, I am not willing to do the work of explaining myself to you. It leaves you helpless. You cannot fix a problem that they refuse to acknowledge exists. You are left boxing with shadows, trying to solve a mystery while the only witness refuses to testify. Let's look at the habit of comparisons. Habit 14. In the beginning, you were the standard. You were the archetype. Now, listen to the references. Dave's wife always has dinner ready. Sarah's husband got a promotion. Why can't we be more like them? Comparison is the thief of joy, but in a relationship, it is the thief of loyalty. When they start comparing you to others, they are shopping. They are looking at the market value of other partners and finding you wanting. It is a subtle form of humiliation. It tells you that you are not enough. It tells you that their gaze has shifted from appreciating what they have to coveting what they do not. It erodes your self-esteem. You start trying to compete with these phantom rivals, twisting yourself into knots to be more like Dave's wife or Sarah's husband. But it is a losing game, because the problem isn't your cooking or your job. The problem is that they have stopped looking at you with the eyes of love and started looking with the eyes of a critic. Habit 15, the disappearance of the we future. We talked about the timeline, but this is about the vocabulary of dreams. Listen to them talk about their goals. I want to travel. I want to learn Spanish. I want to move to the city. Notice the pronoun. I, not we. They are building a solo identity. They are fantasizing about a life where they are the protagonist, and you are not even a supporting character. You are an extra, or worse, you are the obstacle. When a partner starts planning a life that does not structurally require your presence, they are already packing their bags emotionally. They are trying on the outfit of singleness to see how it fits, and usually, by the time you notice, they have already decided it fits quite well. Now, we must address the habit of administrative coldness, the logistics of life, paying bills, scheduling appointments, walking the dog. In a healthy relationship, there is a fluidity to this, a grace. I got this, babe.
When trust leaves, these tasks become battlegrounds, or they become strictly contractual. The warmth is stripped from the daily maintenance of life. They will buy milk, but they won't buy your favorite cereal. They will wash the sheets, but they won't make your side of the bed. It is the bare minimum. It is work to rule. They are fulfilling the technical requirements of cohabitation while withholding the spirit of care. It is a way of saying, I am stuck here, but I am not with you. It is a cold, bureaucratic approach to love, and it chills the bones. We are approaching the final act of this analysis. The habits are becoming more blatant. Habit 17, the contemptuous sigh. Sound is powerful. A sigh can mean exhaustion, but a specific kind of sigh, short, sharp, often accompanied by an eye roll, means contempt.
John Gottman, the famous relationship researcher, calls contempt the greatest predictor of divorce. It is the feeling that you are superior to your partner, that they are beneath you. That sigh says, you are an idiot. You are a burden. I can't believe I have to deal with this. It is a sound of pure disgust. When you hear that sigh, trust isn't just leaving. It has been kicked out the door. Respect is dead. And without respect, there is no relationship. There is only a hostage situation. Habit 18, the public undermining. We talked about external validation, but this is external attack. You are at dinner with friends. You tell a story. They interrupt to correct a minor detail. They make a joke at your expense that is just a little too mean. They roll their eyes when you speak. They are signaling to the tribe that they are not with you. They are distancing themselves from you socially. They are embarrassed by you, or they are tired of you, and they don't care who knows it. It is a public shedding of the skin of the partnership. It is humiliating, and it destroys the safety of the social unit. You can no longer trust them to have your back. You have to be on guard not just against the world, but against the person sitting next to you. Habit 19, the loss of the nickname. It's a small thing, a tiny habit, but names have power. Honey, sweetie, babe, or the silly private names you invented. When those names disappear and you become David or Sarah or Hey, the intimacy is being scrubbed away. The nickname is a verbal caress. It is a marker of special status. When they revert to your legal name, they are demoting you. They are placing you back in the general population. It is a linguistics normalization of the distance between you. It sounds cold. It sounds official. It sounds like the end. And finally, habit 20, the peace of the decision. This is the most terrifying habit of all. After months of fighting, of coldness, of tension, suddenly they are calm. They are pleasant. They stop arguing. They stop complaining. You think, oh, thank God, we turned a corner. Things are getting better. You are wrong. This is the calm of the executioner. This is the peace of a decision made. They have decided to leave. They have a plan. They know when they are going. And because they know the end is in sight, the friction no longer matters. They don't need to fight you because they are no longer invested in the outcome. They can be polite because you are no longer a partner. You are a guest in their remaining time. This sudden, eerie peace is the final habit. It is the signature on the divorce papers before they are even printed. It is the silence of the tomb. So here we are. We have walked through the museum of broken habits. We have seen the erosion, the greeting, the tilt, the sigh, the silence. It is a heavy list. It is a tragedy in 20 acts. But why do we look at this? Why do we stare into the abyss? Is it to torture ourselves? No. We look because awareness is the only antidote. Trust does not die in the dark if you shine a light on it. If you catch the greeting when it first starts to fade, you can say, hey, look at me when I come in. I miss your face. If you notice the curiosity deficit, you can ask, why don't you ask me about my day anymore? You can interrupt the pattern. You can stop the erosion. These habits are not a death sentence. They are a dashboard. They are warning lights blinking red. If you ignore them, the engine fails. But if you see them, if you acknowledge them, you can pull over. You can pop the hood. You can do the work. Relationships are not static. They are living, breathing things. They require maintenance. They require attention. They require the constant daily renewal of habits that say, I see you. I value you. I choose you. If you recognize yourself in this script, either as the person pulling away or the person being left behind, do not despair. But do not wait. The time to act is not when the suitcase is packed. The time to act is when the eye contact breaks. The time to act is now. Look at your partner. Really look at them. Put down the phone. Turn your body toward them. Ask them a question. Touch their hand. Rebuild the bridge, one small habit at a time. Because trust lives in the small moments, but it is also built in them. It is not grand gestures that save us. It is the coffee in the morning. It is the listening ear. It is the tilt of the screen toward the other person. The movie of your life is still filming. The script is not yet finished. You can rewrite the next scene. You can change the ending, but you have to start with the very next habit. The room is quiet again. But maybe, just maybe, it doesn't have to be the heavy quiet. It can be the quiet of a new beginning. The choice is yours.
If this script resonated with the silent spaces in your own life, do not let the realization fade. Awareness is the first step, but action is the cure. Subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the psychology of human connection. We release new cinematic explorations every week, designed to help you decode the invisible language of relationships. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes, sending a link is the first way to break the silence. Comment below, which of these habits have you seen? And more importantly, which one will you change today? Let's start the conversation.